If you remember in the MAP, it's got one little paragraph in there that says the commander can abbreviate this process, the commander can do this depending on time, and it never tells you how. This new PAM does. So, I'd merged the MAP and the JMAP, pretty proud of myself, but I needed to emphasise decision making rather than planning. Unless you're at staff college, you don't just plan for the sake of planning. Okay? You plan in order to make decisions. So I thought I'd better write about decision making. You needed to put the commander at the centre. It's the commander's plan, not the staff's. The staff serve the commander, not the other way around. And of course, how does the commander does not use a collective planning tool. They use an individual planning tool because they're individuals. And it became very obvious in my research that there were other planning processes that we needed to teach, particularly for individuals who either didn't have a staff or for a commander so they could brief their staff. Commanders, direction and guidance. There is a whole chapter now on what the commander does as part of the planning process. Okay? And it talks about decision making. And that's a great quote from Monty. I don't actually like him as a person, but I like his quotes. They're really good. Okay? The role of a commander is to make decisions. So I talk about decision making in the PAM, what it means. I talk about uncertainty versus time. You will always be uncertain in combat, always. Okay? If you chase perfect certainty, you will burn time. So the commander guides the planning process, and they do it by issuing at any time, but particularly at the start, what I'm now calling, what the CDF's doctrine calls direction and guidance. Okay, I've used those words quite deliberately. Direction are the decisions that you have made as a commander. Okay, you've either made them or they are required by your commander. Okay? They are not open to debate unless you can't do it, unless your staff tell you you can't do it. You better have a good reason for that. But the commander also identifies the areas when they are still uncertain. And you can see that that uncertainty might be because of a lack of information. You notice it doesn't say there, wait for the intelligence officer to give you more. It says prompts action. Commanders do these things. And this is in the chapter on commanders' direction and guidance. They understand and visualise. That is primarily a personal thing. But them understanding the problem is only one thing. They've then got to describe it to their staff and direct their staff. If they don't have staff, describe and direct to subordinates. Okay, and remember that hourglass. Those first two bits are the up and out. Understand, visualise. The next two, the describe and direct, are the downwards. And you can see examples of direction and guidance there to staff or subordinates. Plans and orders, branches, sequels, CCIRs, COAs to be developed. Okay, they come from the commander. There are checklists in there. You don't need to read that. Just know that there are checklists in the PAM for commanders. So they can turn to this PAM and go, okay, these things are appropriate in this case. Have a read of that. And remember that hourglass. Remember the hourglass. The staff spend most of their time in the bottom of the hourglass doing the detail. Okay? Having the brilliant idea is fantastic, but it's got to be turned into executable orders to subordinates. You've seen that before. This is a commander's required involvement, and that is a slide from hell, and deliberately so. You notice it doesn't say wander in when the MA brief is. Okay? Commander's got to do all that stuff. Now, I would offer to you that you haven't seen too many commanders do that type of stuff during planning. Now, one of the problems in our schoolhouses, of course, is we don't always have commanders. And so we revert to the process. Commanders have to do all that. including taking the fight. What is missing from there is conduct personal reconnaissance. Commanders have to do that as well. Okay, so busy time being a commander.